Ndindi Nyoro, you promised a lot, especially in wanting to change the Kenyan people's lives, the cost of living. That was the pillar of your campaigns. A year later, have you improved the lives of Kenyans and generally the cost of living in the country?
Thank you very much, Ayu. I am a very proud Kenyan and also a proud leader, because looking back for the last 1 year, we have been able to do a lot of heavy lifting in terms of the economy. Because even before you talk about the personal economies of people, the micro ones, they all generate from the macro perspective. And I can tell you, Ayub, and all Kenyans have a right to know that we had a lot of heavy lifting to do in terms of putting our economy into shape, in terms of having the right infrastructure of the economy, in terms of having the right basis. And I can tell you, Ayub, actually comparative to many other economies, that we are in a place that we were a year ago. Some have already degenerated and descended. If you look at our neighbors without naming names, and I can say them because it is important for us to base our arguments on facts. If you look at countries like Zambia, even our neighbors in Ethiopia, and several others in Africa, you can see that Kenya actually have made many leaps forward. And that has been based on deliberate decisions in terms of stabilizing our debt area, around paying of interest rates, because even before we talk about the plate, even before we talk about the microeconomy of individuals, the country needed to stabilize. Coming to your question directly, the standard of life or the cost of living in terms of Kenyans is hedged on inflation, is hedged on specific things. And specific things, number one, which is very important, is actually food. I am very proud that through deliberate policies, we were able to attack production, we were able to attack the issue of the cost of living on the side of production. And actually citing just one statistic, Ayub, is that Kenya consumes around 46 million bags of maize. And on year, we produce around 40 million bags of maize. Every year, we have had a deficit of 6 million bags to 10 million bags. This year, out of the deliberate decision of incentivizing production, we are anticipating production of 60 million bags of maize in one season, not 1 year. That has a compounding effect in terms of even the plate. But also, let me put it this way, because many times we dwell on what is the cost of this, what is the price of this. Inflation as it is not just a factor of prices. It is also a factor of incomes. And I want to give you an example. If you go to our supermarkets today to buy bread, and you go to a supermarket in the US, or any OECD country to buy the same bread, you find that the bread in those countries is many multiples of Kenya. But you do not accuse them of having inflation because there is a variation in price. Prices generally go up. That is why when I was in nursery school, the price of uga was very different from what it is now. What is of importance is that as the prices go up, we also carry incomes of people together. And I can tell you, some of the discussions I'm listening from various studios, I wish we had time to take this studio today, for example, to the food baskets of our country. We talk to our farmers because a segment of majority of farmers are very happy. Why? Because if you look at the margins they are going to enjoy around the production of various commodities, it is way different.
Thank you.
So what am I saying, Ayub? We have had a lot of successes, but there is a lot of work to do, and we are up to the task, and we are doing it.
And the work here revolves around how then do you improve the living standards of Kenyans before you go to Ndindi Nyoro. And when you talk about what you have done so far in the past 365 days, then how do you talk to the Kenyan voter tonight who feels or is experiencing a squeezed household budget because of the cost of living crisis, a limited or a rather small in terms of his disposable income, and the skying cost of basic commodities in the country, who might see your submissions as rather not the reality on the ground in terms of what they are facing?
As I have clearly stated, it depends on where you sit in terms of the economic spectrum. When you go at the production side, everyone in the primary production in Kenya is actually happy. Primary production, and especially farmers. Farmers are happy in this country because they can actually look at their farms and they see money. That is number one. Number two, even as we talk about what is squeezed, and especially even my pay slip is squeezed. But to what end? It is squeezed to an end that is palatable, I can live with. Because we have to look at it in both dimensions. As we talk about the squeezed disposable incomes in terms of taxation, and especially pay,
thank you.
It is important, Ayub, to also look at what is it that the government is doing with these monies that we are squeezing some of the Kenyans.
Okay.
And Ayub, just to cite a few. Number one, I've talked about fertilizer.
Briefly, okay.
Number two, I can talk about CBC.
Okay.
Now it looks like it has been there, but it needed a deliberate government to come and implement CBC.
Okay.
When we get time, we'll talk about the funding in our tertiary education, the Hustler Fund, and many other deliverables that will be talking about.
Okay, Honorable Ndindi, we have a vast array of other issues to talk about.